Hello and welcome to the BTF podcast. That's the Back to Football podcast, the number one podcast for people who probably should talk about something other than football. It's the 11th of January. We're in a new year. It's 2021 and this is the first podcast of that year. I'm joined by three other co-hosts here today on Zoom or in the studio, we would usually say, but of course it's not really a studio. It's a virtual studio. First up, we've got John Miller, ever present. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm just laughing at Greg. He's got his kit ready. He's got his hairstyle, nice little Gareth Bale style at the back there. But yeah,
I'm
no,
ready. I'm ready. I'm
yeah,
ready
he's
for
ready.
Wednesday night.
He's ready.
This is a call out to Jose.
He's got his shin pads on. Just making me laugh, man. Yeah, no, I'm doing good, man. 2021, hoping for a brighter year than 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the bar is set pretty low, but obviously we've seen some crazy events already in the first week of the year. You sort of introduced Greg there. Greg, you doing good? You're okay?
Yep, all good. All good. My side sort of keeping going as we all are. But
Nice.
yeah,
Good stuff. And then we're also joined by John Aldino, who is back on home soil, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm back in Battersea for the next few years. So yeah, it
Nice.
feels good.
signed a long-term contract.
Yeah.
It's kind of a long-term contract to BTF. I was only on loan before, so
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think first up today we'll talk about the FA Cup draw, which has happened this evening. We'll go through a few of those fixtures. I guess the first one to throw out there is Man United and Liverpool playing at Old Trafford. This actually means as well that they play, I think, twice in a week because they're playing on. I don't quote me if I'm wrong, but I think they're playing this weekend on the 17th. And then they'll play the following weekend. So we're going to have a double dose of the United Liverpool rivalry, which arguably this year is more important than ever. John Aldino, who do you think would field the stronger team in an FA Cup match between those two, or do you think that both just go all out? We may have
gotta
lost.
go all out.
Oh,
It
there
feels
we
like
go.
the Carabao Cup. I think all out. I think if it was like the Carabao Cup, maybe they might field weaker teams but since it's the FA Cup, it's a pretty big deal. It's a pretty big deal, and Ole will want to try and win something. So yeah, man, I think we'll go all out.
Yeah, I think so. Greg, do you think? I just checked as well. It's this so Super Sunday this week. 4:30 is Liverpool versus Man United at Anfield, and then the following week will be Old Trafford in the FA Cup. So that's two blockbuster games to really look forward to. United have kind of they've been criticised recently for when they played City a couple times, and there's a lack of kind of grit and nastiness there in the derby games. Do you think that will be present in the Liverpool game? I mean, it's arguably the biggest rivalry in English football. I know we don't have any representatives from the red side of Liverpool here today, but do you think United will be more up for that game than they would be, say, against Pep City?
I don't know, really. It's a difficult one because I think that Liverpool will be, I suppose to answer your question, I think Liverpool will be more up for it than United. I think while United have been playing very well and they're second in the league only to goal difference, there's still frailties within that team. And I think to answer your question to John Aldino, I think that it means more for Ole to try and push for a cup or try to push for a win. Jurgen's going to be looking at the Premier League. Let's be real. I think he's going to be wanting that and think, but I don't know. I still see frailties in United. I think that they're going through a great patch at the moment, but that week will be the week that probably solidifies that point that I'm making or completely subverts it. But I think it will solidify that point.
Yeah, sorry if I cough a little bit on the show today. I've got I think the after effects of COVID, long COVID. So other draws that have come out is Southampton or Shrewsbury versus Arsenal. We mentioned before the show, this is the Theo Walcott derby potentially. Arsenal kind of back in a groove now, John.
Yeah, a little bit. Don't want to get too excited yet because it was only a month ago when everyone was talking about how bad we were playing and even talking about Arteta out. So yeah, just one game at a time. Although I mean, Arsenal have got a fantastic FA Cup record and pedigree. It's a tournament that we seem to do well in most years. Um, I'm quietly confident. I know, obviously, Southampton. We haven't got a good record against Southampton in the league over the last few years. But I think when it comes to the FA Cup, I think Arsenal more often than not turn up um, and play quite well. I think what's quite exciting is obviously for Chorley. If Chorley somehow managed to beat Wolves and we beat Southampton Southampton, sorry, then and
Just
then
rule out Shrewsbury.
Chorley, it's all over the place. It's Chorley v Arsenal. I think they'd absolutely love that.
At home as well for them.
Yeah, that'd be a great game for them.
Yeah, I think so. There's it's quite a favourable draw as well for Fulham. So we've got Burnley in the fourth round, and if we were to win that at home at Craven Cottage, we would then have a home tie against either Bournemouth or Mark Wright's Crawley Town, which again winnable. Certainly, we'd fancy ourselves over Bournemouth or Crawley. It's just Sean Dyche's Burnley in the way, and if we were to get through those two games, then you're looking at a FA Cup quarter final. And I think with the squad Fulham had this year, most years we go into the FA Cup and it's like, right, we're just trying to avoid one of the big boys, trying to avoid one of the Premier League teams. Actually, this year we've already, we've proven that we can take a point from anyone in the league, really, if we actually, have a good game on the day. So I don't actually think an FA Cup run is completely out of touch for Fulham. I mean, if didn't Wigan win it a few years ago? If Wigan can win the FA Cup, then anyone can, I think. So I'm quietly confident.
Yeah, I'm just glad that we've got this situation where people are playing strong teams. Like, I really enjoy the FA Cup. Like learning about teams and their players and their journeys that I wouldn't otherwise research or learn about. And I think it's great. I think what's byproduct is it's a byproduct of teams like Arsenal, United being out of the Champions League.
Yes.
But still having those strong squads to do that. I think maybe back in the day, if you've got, say, like an Everton who's trying to push for the top four, they don't really have they never used to have the squad to then go for the FA Cup as well. And they'd probably prioritise trying to get into the top four. But the fact that, City have come up, Spurs have come up, but Leicester are doing well. You've got teams like United, teams like Arsenal who have the squads. They might not be doing well in the league, but they can push their big boys out for the FA Cup, and it's making. I think it's adding a bit of the magic to it rather than seeing a bunch of names that we don't know. Keeping the magic alive in the FA Cup.
Yeah, I think especially as well with it, it's like silverware is the ultimate, solidifier for keeping your job, isn't it? It's if you get silverware, generally, unless maybe you're a Chelsea manager, you tend to keep your job. And I think the Premier League is so competitive now and so hard to win that actually it makes the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup more important than maybe they ever have been, because it is a real chance to get silverware. I'm all for it as well. I think it's going to be great. Spurs draw for the FA Cup was obviously they won
Wickham
handsomely at the weekend. Yes, yeah. Wickham. Is it away?
Yeah, we're away at Wickham.
Yeah, away at Wickham. Yeah, so winnable again.
Winnable, yeah. To jump off what you both were saying there, boys, I think that's why I'm so happy to have Jose at the wheel, because he's got a real love for the English domestic cups. Like the way that he's spoken in the last couple of weeks about the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, and all of that, it gives me real hope with because realistically, if we're looking at the league, you're trying to get Champions League. It's really just two positions that are being fought for, because Liverpool are going to get Champions League football, and Man City you can bet on getting Champions League football. So you've got probably about 4 or 5 teams competing for those 2 spaces there. So I think it is such an important couple of competitions, because you can make your mark on that season for sure. And especially this year, the financial aspect of it, I think, is so much more important than it has been in previous seasons and previous years. So, yeah, I will say I do have a real gripe with this phrase, the magic of the cup.
Ooh.
Yeah, I love it, but fuck me.
Wants to fight
just
you,
seeing, just seeing, just seeing a fucking cardboard cutout of Jurgen Klopp and saying the magic of the cup. Because there are magical moments in the cup, but don't just label everything the magic of the cup, because then it isn't magical. Magic is sort of, it's up there, isn't it? If everything's magical, nothing's magical. I don't know. That was just my little 5-minute thing.
Yeah, that's why you didn't have a good time on the Harry Potter studio tour.
Stick with it, mate. Stick with it.
Obviously, Spurs will play Everton in the next, or Everton or Sheffield Wednesday, should they get through that. So that sets up a really good 5th round tie if we get there. But yeah, no, I kind of agree. I mean, I think it's one of those things, like they say, like the magic of the London Marathon and stuff like that. There's certain sports where they kind of egg it up a little bit more than maybe it is, just based on tradition. But yeah, I think we're set for a good cup this year, and I hope as many of the kind of the so-called bigger teams stay in it, but then maybe we get a couple of, like you say, like a Chorley or someone pushing on through to the 5th round would be very, very interesting. I want to play a quick game just to transition, and I did kind of pre-warn you guys about this, how we'll run this. So I think what's going to happen is John's going to go first, and then so in that time, Greg and John Aldinho need to somehow like mute your audio, so maybe just take your headphones out, and then what I'll do is I'll give a thumbs up, then John Aldinho will come in after John's done his, and then I'll give it the second thumbs up and Greg will come in. And we'll see how this goes. So yeah, if I can ask John Aldinho and Greg to remove your headphones.
I'm going to mute I've got AirPods in, so
right.
It'll just throw a little bit of a flex there, but right. Yeah.
All right. So John, I'm going to name some clubs, and you're going to just tell me the one footballer that you associate most with this club.
Oh, God. All right.
Okay. So I'm just going to throw them at you. You got to throw them back at me really quick. So Arsenal.
Thierry Henry.
Chelsea.
Didier Drogba.
Man United.
David Beckham.
Barcelona.
Lionel Messi.
Juventus.
Zidane.
AC Milan.
Maldini.
Real Madrid.
Ronaldo. Cristiano.
Spurs.
Klinsmann.
Bayern Munich.
Robin.
Inter Milan.
Christian Vieri.
And Liverpool.
I'll go Michael Owen.
Cool. All right. So we'll get John Aldinho back. Yeah. John Aldinho is coming back in the room. So John Miller, you can stay on now because you've obviously heard it. So John Aldinho, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Cool. So I'm gonna throw team names at you, and then you'll tell me the one player that you associate most with that club, and it's just got to be like the first name that comes into your head. Okay. Cool. Yeah? So it's a little bit like Family Fortunes here, like the final round of Family Fortunes. So Arsenal.
Walker.
Chelsea.
Lampard.
Man United.
Fernandes.
Barcelona.
Messi.
Juventus.
Ronaldo.
AC Milan.
Ibra.
Real Madrid.
Benzema.
Spurs.
Bale.
Bayern Munich.
Muller.
Inter Milan.
Sanchez.
And Liverpool.
Firmino.
Oof. Some interesting answers. All right, Greg.
Yeah.
Greg can come back in. All right,
I'm back.
You're back. So
Really? You let us stay now because
yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's what I said. Oh, I think you'd taken your headphones off, John. I was wondering why
okay.
you weren't reacting because
Oh,
I
I
did say
said,
you
I
can
said,
stay.
John, you can stay because like you're fine.
yeah, I know. It's not even on.
So I was like, every time he said something interesting, I was like looking at you, and you were just like no reaction to it at all. All right, fair enough. That makes sense. You didn't have your headphones on. All right, so everyone can have their headphones on for this bit. So Greg, I'm throwing team names out, and then you have to just tell me the first player you think of to do with that club.
Oh,
So
fucking
like
hell,
just
all
the
right.
first name that comes to your head. So
Is it quick? Is it quick fire? Am I
quick fire, yeah,
timed or
quick
anything?
fire. No, you don't have any like no deliberation or anything. Arsenal.
Gnabry.
Great start. Chelsea.
Frank Lampard.
Man United.
Wayne Rooney.
Barcelona.
Lionel Messi.
Juventus.
Paulo Dybala.
AC Milan.
Ibrahimovic.
Real Madrid.
Ronaldo.
Spurs.
Gareth Bale.
Bayern Munich.
Arjen Robben.
Inter Milan.
Diego Forlan.
And Liverpool.
Fernando Torres.
Nice. All right, that was interesting. Some different answers.
Serge
Sorry,
Gnabry.
man.
That was an absolute
Gnabry is like the
panic.
most random ass answer for an Arsenal player, but I love it. I think we had Thierry Henry. Who did you
Yeah, that makes
say?
sense.
John Aldinho said Walcott. Theo
So
Walcott.
Walcott.
Yeah, there were some funny ones in there. That's good. That's good. I was saying it's a bit like Family Fortunes, like the final round of Family
Yeah.
Fortunes, like to see.
Where the fuck did Diego Forlan come from? He's not played for about 10 years.
Yeah, I had to.
Christian Vieri.
I was
That's number
thinking.
two.
Did was Forlan actually? He was at Inter Milan, was he? I know Diego Milito was.
Yeah, I think Forlan was.
I don't think. He
Yeah, no, he was. He was there for
Yeah.
like half a season. He played 18 games
mate.
there.
Okay,
Club
good shout.
legend.
Yeah, exactly. Written
Oh,
in
man.
stars.
That's brought on my long COVID cough. That whole segment. But yeah, no, that was fun actually. I think we should do that more often. But I'll think of some different
Yeah.
quick fire topics. But it's interesting
Yeah.
just to see like who the first person you think of. If I did it off the top of my head, I would probably go Arsenal, Henry, Chelsea, Lampard, United, Roy Keane, Barcelona, Messi, Juve, Davids, AC Milan, Maldini, Real Madrid would be Zidane, Spurs, Bale, Bayern Munich, Lewandowski, Inter Milan. I'd probably go with like Ronaldo, R9, and then Liverpool, Gerrard. I think for me, but that is a little bit. Obviously, it's not quite as as off the cuff as you guys are doing it. But yeah, no, that's
good
all.
fun, that.
That's all good. So let's go back to the Premier League. Obviously, there's been a few kind of game rounds and missed games here and there. We've got a rearranged game happening on Wednesday against or Fulham against Spurs. Quite late notice in terms of the camps, but also I was talking to Tom, obviously friend of the show, co-host Tom Nuttall-Jones earlier about it, and it is quite impressive at the same time that they're able to be that flexible with Premier League games and kind of look at the circumstances and go, right, you need to play a game, right, we'll make this happen in 2 days' time. I think that side of it's impressive, but then there is also an argument there that Fulham have been caught on the back foot a little bit here, not expecting a midweek game with a squad that's not really, like the first team, especially for Fulham's not played together for about 2 weeks because we've had games cancelled here and there and everyone's had a bit of COVID. So I don't know where you stand on it. Greg, do you think it's kind of a fair fixture? Do you think it's impressive that they've done it?
I think that it's definitely impressive for everyone to have been able to rearrange that quickly. I do think that Fulham were backed into a bit of a corner of having to accept because the Spurs sort of hierarchy were quite upset about the
Villa.
about the cancellation of the Fulham game about 3 hours before kickoff. There was quite a lot of talk about that. In fact, so I think there probably would have been a bit of a goodwill conversation of, look, you play this game on when, like, you know what I mean? I think Fulham were backed into a corner of that. I do think that I get why Fulham would be a bit disgruntled about it, because it does massively benefit Spurs going into it. I think Villa, maybe respectfully, Dan, would have been a tougher game for us. But then Fulham, very attacking team. But then also, we've just played Marine and rested Son, Harry, Hugo Lloris, like all of these key players. So I think that, yeah, I get why Fulham fans would be a bit disgruntled, because it does benefit us. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've said this to you before, Dan. I think Fulham are a really good attacking team. And if this was played on the 30th of December, I would have been more worried, because the brand of football that we were playing around that time wasn't very inspiring. But the last couple of games we've come out and we've actually attacked, and we've kept attacking and killed games. But I don't know, it remains to be seen. It'll be a good game. It'll be two very good teams against each other.
Yeah, what's John? John Ardino, what's your thoughts been on Spurs in the last couple of games? Do you think they're looking good? How would you compare them to maybe where Chelsea are right now?
They've climbed up. They've been playing so well. As much as I hate to admit it, playing really well. It shows what happens when you actually back Mourinho. I don't think Man United truly backed him, and that's why he had issues and he was always complaining in the press. But when you give Mourinho what he wants, he can get you results. And back to what you said earlier, Greg, he takes every single trophy like it's important. He said that game in the one of the cups was like his biggest ever game for Tottenham. Obviously that's not true, but that just shows how serious he is about every single trophy. And you know, it gets you into a habit of winning. You know, you win one cup, that leads to another, and then yeah, man, that's what you need. That's what you need.
It's experience, isn't it, as well? Like experience in those high pressure moments. No one just like walks into you'd always want someone, if you were playing in a World Cup final, you'd probably want someone on your team that's been in that high pressure environment before, been in maybe a World Cup final before. Like you'd always choose that over someone else. So yeah, getting deep into tournaments as much as possible is great to kind of fuse the squad together.
Well, you look at the players that he's brought in. I mean, you can question their abilities and if they're past or whatever with Joe Hart, Gareth Bale, but you look at those two, they've won so much. Højbjerg, we've seen he was an absolute general. He's going to be a captain when Hugo Lloris leaves. I'm guarantee of that. Speaking of Hugo Lloris, won a World Cup. Yeah. Like he's building this mentality, and I think that you can't underestimate how important a Carabao Cup would be to Tottenham, because I think that it would instill that. It's just a shame that it isn't happening in February when it normally would, because it would have been interesting to see what it did for us for the rest of that season. But I think getting that cup, it would let a lot of the players know, I fucking like this feeling. Let's go and get some more. So I think it's going to be absolutely key. And if we are if we are the only team that Jose fails to win anything with, then I'm accepting that we're never going to win anything in my lifetime. But we'll see.
Yeah, they got Sheffield United on Sunday this week away, but you would think that's probably another 3 points in the league. So it is a big week for Mourinho, because they would expect, or they would be expected to pick up 3 against Fulham as well. So possible 6-point week for Spurs. We've already sort of talked about Arsenal and how they're doing. Any kind of further thoughts on that, John? You think Premier League wise, you think it's going to kind of be okay now this season? It's looking that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just tough. I mean, it's just, you're looking at the table and it's just some real informed teams at the moment, and you're just waiting and hoping for Arsenal. They need a few teams to just lose a bit of form. Maybe that Villa and Everton just lose a bit of form so they can start to climb up the table a little bit. Just touching on Spurs, I think if Mourinho wasn't the manager and you're looking at the table and they are where they are now, I'd be confident that Arsenal are going to catch them. I really would. Under most other managers, maybe even under Poch, or at least get closer to them. But I think with Mourinho there, the serial winner, I don't think he's going to let them slip out of that top four. And so I know Greg said about 2 places. I think it's just one because Spurs have Mourinho. That's just my opinion, and I think City will get in there. United will get in there. So I think for Arsenal, if we can, I think realistically we are going through a transition. There's a lot of players we need to get out that he's having to play because we didn't manage to get rid of them in the summer. People like Mustafi, he's played a few games. Hopefully he goes. Socrates looks like he's might be going. Ozil's, there's talk on Twitter. There's this talk in the media that he might be going. There's a lot of players that need to go. There's players that need to go on loan. Reece Nelson is for one, needs to go on loan. I mean, at the moment we're relying on a what is he, a 20-year-old to dig us out of trouble at the moment. And I think we need to definitely make a signing. There's talk of us maybe trying to sign Buendia from Norwich. I think that'd be tough because obviously they're top of the championship at the moment. So that'd be, they're not going to let him go probably for less than 40 million, and he ain't worth that. So I don't know. It's a tricky one. I think if realistically where we are at the moment, if we could get another decent cup run, winning it back to back, it's going to be quite tricky. I think we've done that before, 2002, 2003. It's not something that happens quite a lot. But if we can get to maybe semi-final, maybe a final, and maybe do something, make a little dent on the Europa League and get back into the Europa League, so maybe finish in one of the Europa League places, I think that'd be a acceptable season, me personally, because I just don't think we've got midfield and the defence at the moment to really make a challenge.
Fair.
Anything more than that.
And then let's go back to Chelsea as well here. And John Aldinho, being a Chelsea fan, how do you feel about the kind of the criticism that's been on Lampard this season? Do you think it's fair? Do you think it's justified? Do you think it's unfair? What have you felt about that?
It's definitely fair. I mean, if it was any other manager, they'd be getting the same stick. I mean, Ole got it for ages. Klopp got it when he first came. Even Pep got it when he first came to City. So, yeah, it's justified. I think our problem is we look pretty inflexible in games. So, we try to play one way. If that doesn't work, there isn't really a plan B. And we had this issue that we were getting with Sarri, when we have all our midfielders being pushed up, and then it leaves a massive gap between our midfield and defence, and we're still having that problem, even though he's tried to play Kante in the Kante role, so to speak, and it's just, with all the injuries been getting, even though he had a few weeks where he was amazing, he's not sustaining that, and he's got another injury now. So he couldn't during the week, and he also got 5 yellow cards, so he's suspended for this next game anyway. So yeah, he's not the same Kante, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be 30 years old in a couple months' time, so. That is a very, very taxing role, isn't it, that he plays? He's been playing that role in the Premier League now, for 6 or 7 seasons. I think he'll still go down as probably a eventually Premier League Hall of Fame player. But yeah, I think to rely so heavily on Kante to do everything in that, like you say, between a very high midfield and then a fairly not old, but like immobile maybe defence as well at Chelsea, which is traditionally something that Chelsea have had. They've always had sort of big units at the back, haven't they? Not necessarily like smaller, faster ball-playing defenders. So, I don't know. I personally feel that I think Lampard gets more stick than that average manager. I don't know.
He does. He gets stick from the fans, but necessarily not the media.
Yeah, maybe not the maybe not the media.
That's what the problem is. That's what the problem is.
Yeah, definitely not in the media. I think if it was, I don't know, somebody else there, like Davids or someone like that, you know, he'd get sacked. He'd get sacked. Think about the money that you guys spent, that Chelsea spent. And the thing is, it's not just that. They do have a system that they could call on, but Frank's not using it. Like, it's in the Arsenal game, so that game was tailor-made for Giroud. Yeah? I'm sorry, man. What's his name? I forgot his name. It's just jumped out of my head. Tammy.
Werner.
No, Tammy. Oh. Tammy is like Andy Cole on steroids, man. Andy Cole needed 5 chances. Tammy needs about 12. Like, he's not gonna really get you into the top 4, right? And Giroud, we had Giroud, and yeah, he's great on his day, but you know, again, you know, he was able to just get us in the top 4. He couldn't really do more than that. But Chelsea remind me, not the way they're playing, but they remind me of kind of Arsenal in those days when you kind of got some really good players around, Sandy Cazorlas, the Girouds and that. They're decent players, but they're just not. There's just something missing. They're just not there. And they're going, and then that's just going to create inconsistencies. You're going to lose or draw games when you should win. And I just think, I think that's. I mean, look at Pulisic, how much of a world beater he was towards the end of last season. Doesn't look like the same player at the moment. I know he's had that injury and stuff. Like Havertz, that hasn't really worked at the moment. They're good players, but they're kind of, they do it in like splurts.
Yeah.
You know, and they'll have good games where they'll go and smash someone 3-0, and then they'll go play Crystal Palace a week later and just lose. And
I think there's like possibly like a case of like too much competition is a bad thing, where like you wouldn't say there's like an obvious Chelsea's best 11, they haven't got like a set, you know, I'll put Chelsea's team, you know, if all 4 of us put down Chelsea's best 11, it would probably be completely different teams, all 4 of them. And in that situation, unless you get leaders that kind of emerge and go, right, I'm claiming that spot, that's my starting spot, you do kind of get a culture maybe of like, oh, well, you know, he'll play well this week. I don't have to try as much. He'll play well this week. And they've got maybe too many people that they should be relying on, but actually there's no one just like taking the lead. And, you know, through their successful years, Lampard was that guy, wasn't he? That you knew you were getting 110% from Lampard every week. Liverpool knew they were getting 110% from Gerrard every week. Man United knew they were getting that from Scholes and Rooney and, you know, everyone else. Whereas I do feel, with Chelsea, you don't know what percentage Tammy's going to turn up, or like if Pulisic is going to be at the top of his game. So I can see that. And whether that falls back on the manager, maybe if it does, then he's deserving of the criticism he gets. I personally think he gets a little bit more stick just because he's Frank Lampard. He was never really that well liked by other fans as it was. He certainly got stick everywhere he went, whether it was kind of like light-hearted, but the whole Fat Frank thing and who ate all the pies, like literally every stadium that he went to. But I don't know. I think as soon as he shouted at Klopp last season, I think he kind of put a bit of a nail in his own coffin for certain clubs not to like him, and he's been kind of given a bit of an attitude. I think people have sort of seen him as having a bit of an attitude problem, maybe beyond his achievements as a manager. We'll see where that goes, but I don't know. I don't think he's any more sackable than maybe Arteta or Solskjaer would have been if they weren't former players either. So maybe it's just a new type of manager-chairman relationship that we're seeing. Could Mourinho lose as many games, Greg, and still be in a job?
I think it's all context, isn't it? I think that Mourinho for Tottenham, he's the best chance that we've got of winning anything for the last 10 years and maybe the 10 years to come. Yeah. Right, all right. But I think it's all context. I think you do have to say about, obviously it takes more than spending money to win the league, I think. But you have to look at how much he has spent this transfer window and the players. You'd have to look at if it's Frank Lampard that has said to Chelsea, go out and buy Timo Werner, go out and buy Kai Havertz, because I think that would have a massive impact. Because Timo Werner is it 10, 11 games that he's not scored? I don't know did he score against Morecambe?
He did score last night, but
right.
It was a tap in.
But this is the thing, he has been missing sitters in the past, he has been missing tap-ins, or he's not. And then against Man City, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Gennardino, there was a lot of criticism from Chelsea fans of you're not playing Werner where he needs to be. You're playing him on the left, but he should be in the middle.
Yeah.
And then against City,
Sorry,
he played
go
in the middle, and then against City, he played in the middle, and he
Yeah.
was ineffective.
Yeah, I think the problem with Werner is, I mentioned this before, it might have been in the group chat, but I mentioned that we don't get the ball to him quick enough. So by the time he's ready to get going, the ball goes a different direction where he's already gone, and there's so many times where he's made a run and he's not getting it. And if someone plays him that ball a split second, or if someone sees his run, then he's through every time. No one's catching him. He's that quick. That's why they call him Turbo Timo. And I just think he's not the player to pick the ball up and run at players in the Premier League. It works in the German league, but in the Premier League, he's just getting bodied every week. And it's just another. Also, Chelsea don't know how to attack against the low block. So you park the bus. We don't know what to do.
But you've got players though. The thing is, if you look at, sorry to reference Arsenal, if you look at Arsenal shouldn't be able to get through a low block because you've got El Neni in there, you've got Xhaka in there. They've not been known for their Fabregas style passes, but I think you've got Havertz, Ziyech, Pulisic. There's enough quality in there, to be able to break it down. That's what I think it must. That's why I think it comes down to Frank. So either it comes down to Frank, or it's just taking them a lot longer to gel because of COVID and everything else, and they didn't really have a proper pre-season. It could be a little bit of that, but it's how much time is he going to get? Because spend that money, and like you said, so and so was doing it in the German league. So and so Havertz was looking great in the Bundesliga. It's like got to start to look a little bit deeper than that. And I just think Frank's a little bit tactically naive at times.
Is it?
But you're also talking about three players who have never played with each other. Well, Havertz and Werner have at international level, but they're playing with new players and in a new league. So this is the problem that we were always going to have, because we're trying to integrate all these new players, and it's just difficult. Even besides those three, you have Ben Chilwell, you have Thiago Silva, and then you have Eddie Mendy. But yeah, so it's like half our team.
Should have kept Willian, man. Serves you right. We don't want him.
Nah, man.
Take him back.
No, man. He spoke to Edu and David Luiz and said, "I'm coming." Zutu bang, Arsenal. Zutu bang. But yeah, you can keep
Serves
him.
you right. Just selling Willian.
But you know what? Yeah, it's weird. Because Dan touched on this earlier. We just lack leaders.
Yeah.
We don't have. We moved on from Lampard, Terry, and Drogba, and then we had Diego Costa, Fabregas, and Aspi, but we haven't replaced them with anyone. Like, no offense, if I'm Mason Mount, I can't get that little boost from Thiago Silva because I don't know what he's saying.
Yep. Yeah, this was
You know
going to be
what I mean?
my point a couple of minutes ago, is it a huge red flag when a player, like, albeit decorated world footballer like Thiago Silva, but is it a huge red flag when someone like that comes in and is wearing the captain's armband, like in his first few games? There is clearly a lack of leaders there, and there's a lot of great, talented young players. You mentioned Ziyech, Havertz, Werner, Pulisic, Tammy Abraham, but there isn't like a John Terry there, or a Frank Lampard, or there is a Frank Lampard there on the bench, on the sidelines, and I feel like that might be why he hasn't gotten more leaders in, because there may be a little bit of a, well, for one, he probably feels like he can lead them himself, from the touchlines. But then two, whether there's I can't think of the right word for it, but like where you're actually almost like scared to invite other big personalities into a dressing room. As a young manager, Lampard might not want another 34-year-old or whatever it would be coming in, giving it, a lot to the team, and that's quite a difficult skill, I would imagine, to as a manager, especially as a manager in the Premier League, to handle those big personalities and those leaders once they get into those senior years. We saw it countless times with all the big managers we've seen it with, like personalities take over the dressing room, and say is the obvious example, but Ferguson, when that would happen, he would just get rid of them. Roy Keane is the big example. Like Keane became too influential in the dressing room, and Ferguson just went, right, see ya. And I do wonder if Lampard's kind of been a bit cautious of getting anyone that might undermining is probably the word that I was looking for a minute ago, but that might kind of undermine him, being that young manager. And it's probably the same reason that we're not seeing John Terry on the staff at Chelsea, because again it would be like the understudy is now Terry being more senior than Lampard when they were there, kind of, and that dynamic. I don't know. I just think leadership is probably the key problem at Chelsea.
Yes, that's a very interesting point, because he did get rid of Willian.
Mm-hmm.
He did get rid of David Luiz as well. He was a massive personality, and probably our only leader in the team, besides from Azpilicueta. So it could be that.
Yeah, and even as Aspi, like I think he has had again another Premier League Hall of Famer, but you wouldn't have in his first sort of 3, 4, 5 years in the Premier League, you wouldn't have said, "Oh, Azpilicueta, like captain, leader, legend," would you? You would be like, "Oh, Azpilicueta, great defender, great squad player."
Great servant of the club.
Yeah, great servant of the club, but you wouldn't look at him as... It's similar argument to like Arteta being when he was an Arsenal captain. It's like they kind of get the title because they are consistent and they're great model professionals and all of that stuff. But I think there's an extra level of grit required to lead a Premier League team, and I think maybe like someone like Aspi just... For me, it doesn't stand out as being there, but I think he recently play his 300th game or 400th. There's some crazy milestone he's got.
Yeah, it was a milestone. Yeah,
this
I think
week.
It might be 300 or 400.
Yeah, I was actually my friend sent me it this week, but we were actually at his debut for Chelsea, which was a game where like I think Torres was still there and Oriol Romeu was playing for Chelsea back then, and but yeah, it's crazy, and that would have been like 2011, maybe 2011 or 2012, one of those years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's been a brilliant servant for the club, but I just don't. When you think like that's your main captain, I don't buy it. Like, I think.
Yeah, it's more of a respect thing as opposed to a leadership thing with him. For sure.
But then, how do you recruit a captain? Because I already said, I kind of contradict myself in the fact that I said, if you bring in Thiago Silva and make him captain in his first few games, like a captain is certainly something that needs to be cultivated over a decent amount of time. If you look at...
It's a personality thing, though, isn't it?
What's that? It's a what?
It's a personality thing.
Yeah.
You just got to have the right personality. Like, when I play football with Jonathan, I'm the one doing all the talking and shouting because, I'm just... I have a bigger mouth than him, and I'm not scared to say certain things. Like you need to get back, you need to help out, you need to be here, there. That doesn't bother me. But besides that experience, if you've only been playing for like 5 or 6 years as a kid, you probably like don't say a lot on the pitch.
Yeah.
Because you're listening to adults your whole career.
I think
it's difficult.
I think Mason Mount, I think is definitely, in my opinion, a future captain. I think he, especially last season, he led by example, took a few games by the scruff of the neck, and I think maybe just because of the seniority of people like Thiago Silva, Aspilicueta, I think they've been given the nod. But I think once those guys clear out, and obviously Father Time is catching up with them, I definitely think that Mason Mount, I think, would be a really good Chelsea captain going forward in the next.
So years. Mason Mount's 22 years old now. He'll be 23. Actually, he only turned 22 yesterday. Jordan Henderson became Liverpool captain at 25 years old. So his 25 is probably roughly the right age probably to become a captain, or does it not matter? I know there was De Ligt who was Ajax captain at like 18 years old or something like, but I don't know. Captain is a very interesting topic, I think, within the Premier League, and just how much influence a captain actually has. How do you, John, select a captain on your team, or is that something that you rotate? Or
funny enough, the last game before we broke up for Christmas, I selected my captain. So I took over this team like about 2 years ago, or I'm on my third season, and I always rotated it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just kind of was watching and seeing, and then started this season, one player he stood out as like, if we were losing games, there was a couple of games we were losing with like a minute or two to go, or drawing, from a winning position, and we just kind of throwing it away. And he might not necessarily have scored the winner, but he was instrumental in kind of creating that winner, and by winning big tackles, playing out wide, then the winger crosses it in, and then we score literally last kick of the game. And I just kind of thought, you know what? Yeah, this kid, I'm going to make him captain. And that last game before we broke up, I mean, it's probably his best game he played. I think he won 6-1, and he played really well. But I think, me personally, obviously, I've only had sort of two grassroots teams, well, three actually. I had one team for one season, but two where I've actually had for a long time and kind of picked a captain. It is kind of like what John said, that player that, even though I do it now, I wasn't that player. I always just had my head down, got on the wing, kicked it, and chased after it. I never really said anything. If someone isn't tracking back or someone wasn't doing their job, I never told them about that. So even though I do it now as a coach, that wasn't the way that I played. So I kind of look out for the players that are doing stuff like, guys, got to get back. Come on, we can win this, like all that kind of stuff. And then also as well, in my opinion, you have to give it to somebody who is first, second, or third best player in your team. Like, because you can't give it to somebody who you're going to be subbing off all the time, doesn't play a full 90 or 60 in kids football. So you have to give it to somebody who needs to play, needs to start, plays all the games. You're not the same team when they're not on the pitch. It's quite vocal. I'm not really into this captains that just only lead by example, like Aubameyang. Aubameyang's a shit captain. He's a great player, but he's a shit captain. Doesn't say anything. Doesn't really G the team up in that way. I think Kieran Tierney's probably a better captain material, but again, he's only just come, so maybe in a few years. But I think I would go for somebody that does do that. You want somebody that has those moments like Mason Mount has, where he's last season he won games taking a free kick or scored a 30-yarder, but also somebody I think is not afraid to, grab somebody by the throat and say, you're not doing your job.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the list of players that have captained teams in the Premier League this season, and if we're looking at players that have been at clubs for less than 2 years and have been captains, we've got obviously Thiago Silva, who's been at Chelsea for 4 months at the moment. Other players that have done it, so less than 2 years they've been at a club. We've got Gary Cahill at Crystal Palace, who's captained one game apparently this season. Again, 35 years old, veteran of the game. We've got Joachim Andersen at Fulham. 24-year-old Joachim Andersen has captained us in 5 games, which red flags are flashing. We've also got Branislav Ivanovic, again another Chelsea. These are leaders that were part of a well-led Chelsea team. Ivanovic obviously been at West Brom for 3 months. He's captained them during a game. Harry Maguire would be a big example at Man United. He's only been there 1 year and 5 months. Sorry,
He's only been good for 1 month.
Yeah.
That's
and he's been a mainstay captain. Man United interestingly, United and could you name the one other team in the Premier League? And it will be a massive shout if you can get it. But the one other team in the Premier League that's only had one player captain their team this year on the pitch. It's not Southampton.
In the Prem?
It's in the Prem, yeah.
Premier League.
There's actually
There's
actually two I've just noticed. One of them must be an honorary club captain and a goalkeeper.
Okay.
So I'll give you a clue for that one. A goalkeeper is the captain of this team, and there's an honorary club captain that actually hasn't played any games this season.
Is it like going to be Burnley or Sheffield United or something?
No, they're former Premier League winners.
Oh.
Schmeichel.
Yeah, Kasper Schmeichel, and then Wes Morgan with 0 appearances
Morgan's
apparently
still
as
there.
captain.
Yeah, Morgan's there, man.
Wow.
And then
He's
the
gonna
other
retire,
one,
right?
the other player that's captained all 15 games for their club this season and no one else has worn the armband is Jack Grealish. Which is a great example of what you were saying, John, about give it to your first, second, third best player who's going to play 90 minutes every day and every game rather. But yeah, I think we could probably revisit the captains thing because I think there's definitely I'm quite interested in just the dynamics of how that works in the Premier League and maybe if we look back at some of the former captains and league winners, there's probably not that many. I think Vieira and Keane must have like almost half of the Premier League titles that have been, and then the other probably Lampard,
Terry and company.
And company.
Terry
Yeah,
won about
those
four,
guys
yeah.
probably dominate the thing. But yeah, I always say like the best teams are the ones made up of people that captain their international teams, and that's what Liverpool are. You've got Senegal captain Mane, you got Holland captain Virgil van Dijk, you got not England captain but more or less England captain Jordan Henderson, Andy Robertson Scotland captain. There's I think Salah would be Egypt captain. Once you make a team of leaders, you start winning games in the Premier League. That's my theory anyway. And also it's a random stat, but the total market value of all the players that have been captains this year in the Premier League is £8 billion, which also says a lot about the quality of players that are getting to be captains. So let's do a quick round of predictions for the midweek games this week. So we've got Burnley against Man United at Turf Moor. What are we thinking about that, Greg? Important one. If Man United win, they go top of the league.
We just can't. We can't do that. That just can't run. Do you know what I wanted to bring it up earlier? I'll only bring it up second. What we should all be scared of is Man City, 2 games in hand and on 29 points. Got that to look forward to. I think that Man United will win that by 1 goal. It'll be 1-0. No prizes for guessing who scores it and how they score it.
Bruno.
Bruno.
So Johnny Mills, Sheffield United taking on Newcastle tomorrow. That's a 6 p.m. game. Prediction. It's not a sexiest game, is it? That one.
It's a tough game.
Don't pick on that game.
I think Newcastle they rested quite a few players, didn't they, for the Arsenal game? A few players didn't play, so I'm not sure if they were just rested or whether there was any issues, COVID or injuries, or whatever. But if they've got Callum Wilson back, then they're going to terrorise them, absolutely terrorise them. I don't think Sheffield United will get more than 6 points. Wait, I might already be on 6. How many are they on? They're 1.
No, I think they're on 1. Let me
They
check.
get more than 10 points.
2 points.
2 points.
They get more than 10 points. I don't know what I'll do, man. I'll do this podcast naked and the waist down. Anyway.
All right. And then the late game tomorrow is Wolves and Everton from Molineux. John Aldino's prediction for that?
That's a hard one, because
2
they're
similar
both
teams.
Yeah.
4.5 star.
Let's say Everton 1-0.
Everton 1-0. Okay, and then on to the games on Wednesday. We got a 6 p.m. kickoff between Man City and Brighton and Hove Albion. John Miller, prediction for that?
I think City will win. I think they'll just steamroll them. I think it'll be 3 or 4-0. I don't really see them. I know Mo plays a handful, but I don't think they're going to score.
Yeah, and then the final prediction from Greg here is Spurs and Fulham at home for Tottenham. So, what's your prediction for that game?
3-1 Spurs.
Nice. I think I'm going to go with 1-1. I'm going to go Spurs are going to do their usual routine of going 1-0 up after like 30 seconds, and then Fulham will score in the 89th minute.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Be,
would not surprise me.
1-1, but
where is it?
It's at the, what do you call your stadium? Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's at that stadium, the NFL stadium.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that, John? Spurs win?
Yeah.
You would think so. I mean, Fulham are pretty rusty in terms of, like I say, we played at the weekend against QPR, which actually we didn't touch on that. But did you see Ebericha Easy? I don't know if I butchered his first name there, but Easy was at the game watching in the stands, and I think the FA are looking into it as to like, what's he doing there? He shouldn't be allowed in the stadium. So it'd be very interesting following kind of recent FA investigations into players, whether they come down hard on him and whether it's a fine or a ban or what. But I think certainly if the Premier League and the Football League want to keep playing games, then I think that kind of thing, like, albeit, you know, he's there to support his mates and his former teammates, but at the end of the day, you're a Crystal Palace player. It's not like he's not on loan from QPR. You're a Crystal Palace player. You shouldn't be in that stadium. So I would expect, my prediction is that he'll get a possibly a ban, or Palace will get. I don't know who gets the fine in that situation because QPR have let him in.
Yeah, Palace has got nothing to do with it.
Yeah, Palace.
Yeah, it's between.
But a ban for Easy would be a punishment for Palace, wouldn't it? So maybe it will just be a fine in this situation.
Yeah, it'll be an internal thing. We with Region and Lamella and Lo Celso, I think we internally fined them and sorted it out.
Right. Yeah.
Different
the Christmas
circumstances, I suppose, but
Yeah.
New Year's or something.
Gathering or New Year's.
Yeah.
New Year. Okay,
yeah, with Lanzini, that was the biggest crime.
Yeah. All right. So, that brings to a close the BTF podcast for this week. Thanks for watching. If you are listening on Spotify, make sure you follow the show to make sure so that you get updates when we post new shows. And if you're watching on YouTube, again, subscribe, hit the notification bell, etc., etc. Check out Greg TMR. When's the next beer review out?
Oh, mate, don't do me like that. Whenever I edit
When was the last one out?
Oh, don't do me like that. It'll be worth it. Whenever it's out, it'll be worth it.
It's out. You can go back and binge the last few that you've put out anyway.
Plenty of content.
So we'll see you next week. We'll be back next week. John and John Aldino, as ever, thank you very much for joining us on Monday night.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
And Greg, we'll see you on YouTube.
Yeah, man.
All right, cool. Cheers, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.